ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Ebolomo Adekunle. In our major story, Adamawa Group doubts Boko Haram's sincerity on ceasefire deal. Also in this program, Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola challenges the federal government on debt profile of the state. The Otulu community in Delta State raises the alarm over incessant attacks by Fulani herdsmen. And outside Nigeria, hundreds of Taliban militants launched deadly attacks in Logar province in Afghanistan. And now the details. A non-governmental organization, Save Adamawa Communities from Terrorists, say it doubts the ceasefire agreement the federal government claims it has with Boko Haram. The group expressed concerns that it may be a ploy by the insurgents to re-strategize. It's warned in a statement issued in Kaduna that having suffered heavy casualties in recent times, the insurgent group may want to use the ceasefire to stockpile arms for more deadly attacks. The group also raised alarm over the invasion and destruction of 9 villages in Hong local government area of Adamawa State. It believes that the solution to ending the siege on Adamawa villages may lie in allowing individuals to arm themselves with a view to protecting their communities. The ceasefire deal between the federal government and Boko Haram has been generating reactions from Nigerians due to the recent attacks in Borno State. Speaking on a flagship program, Core Digest, our public affairs analyst Olabode Oseni says the Nigerian military should be more organized with a view to finding a lasting solution to the Boko Haram insurgents despite the ceasefire deal.
We need to do it even very swiftly because, like I said, it's taking 6 months late. So whatever we are doing now, we need to get it right. We cannot afford to have organized or arranged for a ceasefire, and then we are getting this kind of results. A layman will say, well, that means the vehicle, the car, the thing has not been properly fixed. So a negotiation of this magnitude must be well organized, must be well represented, it must be well done in such a way that truce will be truce. In most of the wars of this world, when you call for truce, the truce usually is obeyed and respected. So, very rare situation you had that truce is now broken and fight want to continue. Yes, if at the end of the day, the final draft, the final arrangement is not agreed on certain logistic or issues, there might be war again. But where we are now, we can't afford to do that. And that's why I say I'm using this opportunity to applaud. I'm very happy that the government has done so much and they are doing so much to make sure that the issue of these our girls that have been in captivity for so many months are going to be brought to an end. And at the same time, use the same opportunity to find solution, a lasting solution.
Okay, in your own opinion,
to the problem of Boko Haram.
Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola says the federal government is giving wrong information about the debt profile of the state, challenging the federal government to give the true situation of things with the federation account. Fashola made this known while speaking at the 2,700 days celebration of his administration in office. Abiola Oluwole was there and his reporters presented from our studio.
Every 100 days, Governor Babatunde Fashola addresses residents on developments in the state. Undaunted by the rains, residents troop out to listen to their governor for the 27th time. Speaking on the 160 billion naira debt profile of the state, Fashola says such loans are used for developmental projects.
Our political advisors have issued statements that we have borrowed 160 billion. What they have not told you is what we are doing with the money. In the last 100 days, we commenced work on providing street lighting on Murtala Muhammad Way in Yaba. This is 10 kilometers of public lighting, which will be completed by the end of this month. On Eko Bridge, Kata Bridge, Ikorodu Road, Lekki Ekpe Expressway, and every street and highway where there is street lighting in Lagos today, it is the Lagos state government that supplied the poles, the bulbs, and the diesels that keeps those lights running.
He, however, challenged the federal government to render account for the 2.3 trillion naira unappropriated funds spent on fuel subsidy, which he says is responsible for states being unable to access enough funds through the federation account.
And if they still ask you about debt, ask them to account for over 2.3 trillion naira spent on fuel importation without appropriation. And also ask them to explain what happened to $20 billion. Because if these huge amounts were made available to the federation account for the states and local governments, clearly things will be different in our country.
The forum also served as a platform for Fashola to respond to questions from residents on policies of the state government.
Religious leaders across Ekiti State have urged the new governor, Ayodele Fayose, to run an all-inclusive government devoid of bad blood and vengeance, as God has given him a rare opportunity of a second chance in his life. The chief imam of Ado-Ekiti and representative of Pastor William Kumuyi of the Deeper Life Bible Church, speaking at the Thanksgiving service of Ayo Fayose on Friday and Sunday, described the second coming of the governor as a rare opportunity, thus urging him to forgo the past and run a government that doesn't create enmity. Ayo Fayose, who rolled on the floor in a show of appreciation to God for his victory, promised to do as admonished by the religious leaders, while he also ordained himself an apostle of stomach infrastructure. The Thanksgiving held at the Ado-Ekiti Central Mosque and the Deeper Life Bible Church campground in Ado-Ekiti attracted dignitaries from the political class and traditional institution. The Labour Party has picked a one-time Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, James Magaji, as its candidate for the 2015 gubernatorial election in the state. This, according to officials of the party in the state, followed discussions with several aspirants who unanimously agreed to support a candidate from southern Kaduna because of plans by PDP and APC to field candidates from northern parts of the state. Speaking at the occasion, Labour Party National Vice Chairman in charge of Northwest Zone, Umaru Mohammed, said with the block votes of Southern Kaduna, Labour Party is sure of taking over the state next year. Party Chairman Bello Magaji, for his part, said the choice of James Magaji as candidate is to ensure that the party fields a credible and popular politician at the 2015 election. As the 2015 general elections draw near and politicians jostle for space and attention, traditional rulers in the northern senatorial district of Kwara State say the governor has done enough in developing the state for him to be considered for a second term in office. The traditional rulers who visited the governor to congratulate him on his numerous strides in developing the state and awards say he is good enough for a second term, especially in developing the northern senatorial district and the state in general. The leader of the team, the Itsu Patigi, and Vice Chairman of the State Council of Traditional Rulers, Ibrahim Chata Umar, also tasked the governor on continued delivery of dividends of democracy to the people. Chata Umar, while commending the governor on his health, education and youth empowerment programs, say the traditional rulers wish him electoral success in 2015 so that he will continue to do more of what he has done over the last few years for the state and the people. Responding, the governor, Abdul Fattah Ahmed, says the successes of his administration is due to support from critical stakeholders in the Kwara project, which includes traditional rulers in the promising to ensure that the relations between the government and traditional institutions remain strong. He says the government will continue to work with the traditional institutions and all stakeholders in the state to address issues relating to women, children, and the youth, while also soliciting for all hands to be on deck to ensure an enabling environment for social-economic development in the state. The pathway to 2015 is gradually opening up with the emergence of presidential hopefuls, especially in the camp of the nation's leading opposition party, APC. So far, former head of state Muhammadu Buhari and former vice president Atiku Abubakar have kicked off their presidential intents on the platform of the APC. But what kind of president do Nigerians really want? Olajumoke Olatunji takes the question to the court of public opinion and experts and return with this report.
At 54, an average woman is a grandmother who has seen it all and is at a vantage position to nurture younger women. Comparatively, many scholars have said that Nigeria is a toddler at 54. The country, arguably for the set of people, is yet to become a nation. Ethnic conflicts and civil unrest, characterized by loss of precious lives, still hallmark the polity. In spite of huge human and natural resources, Nigeria is still plagued by different challenges. By May 29 next year, Nigerians would have shot themselves on the foot if the person they're swearing as president did not have answers to these challenges and more.
A president that is angry, sufficiently angry. And I hope people will understand me. Such a person must be so thoroughly embarrassed, so completely overwhelmed by the degree of decadence and the failing prospects of or chance of salvaging this society, this country. He must be apprehensive that if nothing is done, we'll be pushed off the cliffs because we're already at the presidency.
Currently, the names of 11 Nigerians have been mentioned in connection with the 2015 presidential election, built for February 14, 2015. Those said to be interested in being the chief occupants of Aso Rock include President Goodluck Jonathan of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar of the All Progressives Congress, Muhammadu Buhari, Sam Ndazaya, Adams Oshiomhole, Musa Kokenso, Rochas Okorocha, Abdul-Jalil Tafawa Balewa, Aminu Tambuwa, and Sam Wanti of the Mega Progressives People's Party.
We need a president who will be prepared to rock the boat. Unless they rock the boat in Nigeria, Nigeria may continue to wallow in this endless pit of indolence. This is a country with a huge capacity, I mean, to be a giant in Africa, like it was once referred to in the past. But because of this kind of lackluster, lukewarm, you know, uninspiring leadership that we have had over the years, I'm not specific about Jonathan alone, I'm talking about Nigeria's leadership.
The kind of president that we all need in 2015 is that man that can offer responsible and constructive leadership. A man or woman that has the courage of his own convictions, who is willing, ready, and able to tackle the monster of corruption.
Of the lot, Buhari, Atiku, Oshiomhole, Ndazaya, Tafawa Balewa, and Wanti have declared their intentions to run. President Jonathan has been adopted by the PDP as its sole presidential candidate, a move that Tafawa Balewa has vowed to overturn at the party's presidential primaries. The likes of Kwankwaso, Okorocha, Tambuwa are yet to make their intentions known and are said to be neck-deep in consultations, while Saraki has opted out of the race. Just moments to the general elections, the political arena is heated up and Nigerians seem ready to go to the polls once again to demonstrate their constitutional rights. Olajumoke Olatunji, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The Kwara State chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC says it welcomes the resolution of the Kwara State Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security to ensure peace and tranquility in Kwara State ahead and beyond the 2015 general elections. In a statement issued in Ilorin by its publicity secretary, Suleiman Buhari, the APC decried the decision not to invite the party as a dangerous signal of partisanship as the elections draw near. Going further, the party says to ensure the success of the decisions taken at the meeting, the security agency should do all it can to monitor what the party describes as the violent tendencies of the opposition parties. The PDP in the state, according to the APC, has a fatal record of political violence, while its thugs and chieftains are at various stages of prosecution in respect to political violence. The party says it is a source of worry to it that the party was not invited to the stakeholders meeting even when smaller parties were invited. The party says this represents a dangerous signal which shows a hint of partisanship on the part of security agencies, with the admonition that it should work with all stakeholders, especially the ruling party, which has 98% of all elected and appointed political offices in the state. You're watching the CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take a break now and we'll be back with more. Remain with us.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes, and bleeding from the eyes, ears, and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water, or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces, or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees, or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it. Don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Thank you for being there, and here is a quick reminder of some of the major stories. Adamawa Group doubts Boko Haram's sincerity on ceasefire deal. Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola challenges the federal government on debt profile of the state. The Otulu community in Delta State raises alarm over incessant attacks by Fulani headsmen. And for more news and other information, you can reach us on our social media platform. On Facebook, facebook.com/CoreTV News. Twitter @CoreTV News NG. And on YouTube, youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, then news. The Otulu community in Aniocha South local government area of Delta State has called on the state government to intervene and save the community from the alleged incessant attacks by Fulani herdsmen in the area. The community chief, Paul Eboji, made this call in an interview with the newsmen in the area. Eboji says the people now live in fear due to the rampant attacks of the herdsmen. Eboji posited that government's intervention is necessary because the community is peace-loving and would not want to be dragged into clashes with herdsmen that could take lives. He alleged that Fulani herdsmen have turned their farmlands into grazing ground for their cattle. The community chief says challenging the herdsmen has led to attacks on members of the community, with several also maimed in the process, calling on the state government to intervene and prevent a major crisis. The kidnapping of a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Okewale, has continued to generate reactions. A former chairman of the Ikeja branch of the association, Monday Ubani, and a Lagos-based legal practitioner, Chukwuemeka Eze, both condemned the incident, describing it as indicative of the sad state of security in the country. They, however, called for his immediate and unconditional release, while also admonishing the government to do more on the issue of insecurity in Nigeria.
But the kidnap is very condemnable, it's highly reprehensible, and it's very scary for some of us. And that, again, tells us the state of our insecurity. I traveled recently to East, and I've actually saw every big man, every big woman with security apparatus, with policemen and vehicle following them. It then means that if you don't have any money to have your own personal arrangement of security force protecting you're on your own. You can easily be kidnapped. You can easily be abducted. So the state of insecurity in this country is very alarming.
The kidnap signposts the continuation of the black chapter in the book of political history of Nigeria. That in 2014, Nigeria is not known as a country that will make a lot of difference in the world.
Shop owners and residents are still counting their losses after the fire incident in Malete, Ibadan that claimed lives and goods worth millions of naira. Authorities at the market and leader of the community also call on the government to bring into quick fulfillment the promises to compensate victims of the incident. Omotayolo paid a visit to the scene of the fire incident at Ibadan and filed in this report.
It was a tragic evening on Saturday, the 11th of October 2014, when the petrol tanker fell at Molete on the bridge, spilling its contents which resulted in a fire that destroyed everything on site. The tanker reportedly lost control due to brake failure. This burnt container store was to serve as a house of refuge for some of the victims who ran for their lives. Unfortunately, they did not live to tell their stories. The terrible stench still oozing from the container tells more. One of the market leaders in Molete, Iswat Oyinlola, who remains sad over the deadly incident, revealed that 17 people died, 47 shops, 13 cars, 13 buses, 3 motorcycles and 3 tricycles and 2 houses got burnt in the inferno.
We are appealing to the government to come to our aid so that the people that they are shop bonds, they should come to our aid to support them to start the business again, because some of them, they can't do anything at present. There's no money, there is nothing again. So we are appealing to the government to please come to our aid.
Making a special plea to the government, the community head of Molete, Rashid Adigun, calls on the state government to hastily provide the relief materials promised to the affected persons.
We are appealing to the government to help all these people. They have nothing. All their markets are burned. So they help them, they will have something for their business.
Coming barely less than 2 months of another fire incident at the popular Aleshin Lawyer Market, residents and business operators in the area are still very much in shock of what befell the community. Omotayo Alo, CoreTV News, Ibadan.
A 400-level student of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, has dragged the school authority before the Federal High Court sitting in Osogbo, Osun State, for unlawful rustication and defamation of character. The rustication, which was a fallout of the June 18 protest by the student union over the increment in school fees and poor welfare on the campus. Rashid, who was in court, has more on the story.
After the protest by the student union and student activists of the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, on the 18th of June, some of the participants never knew what hit them, with the management of the institution wielding the big stick by rusticating leaders of the protest. The decision, which did not go down well with the affected students, has led to a court action by the students before the Federal High Court in Osogbo to enforce their fundamental human rights.
Now, we still clamor in addition to the reinstatement of all the 8 students that were suspended, in addition to 1 student that was suspended in 2011 struggle. We clamor immediately for their reinstatement, and also we still maintain our ground that the fee increment remains unjustified. Even upon reinstatement, we will continue to fight the struggle. Our cudgels of struggle will be raised towards and against oppression of the vast majority. So the intent is that the management at this point in time must make sure that they withdraw all of those allegations against all the 8 suspended student activists, number 1, and number 2, must immediately review and revisit the fee hikes. So evidence has shown that it had never, we are not having better welfare on campus as against the lies, the bunch of lies that were spread to the vast majority of Nigeria.
The leadership of the students' union also backed the students, revealing this through Amos Bikunle and the petitioner, Sanyaolu Olajuwon.
Now, why we are in court is because of the political victimization of our students. Yes, we are telling the whole world what is happening to us in Ife. The students, the student union leaders, student activists, we are under attack. And as it stands, we cannot continue this way. And now, we are also talking about a statement struggle.
Our problem actually was not because of the fact that the fee was even increased by 5 naira. Even if our school fees was 1 naira and it was increased to 1 naira 50 kobo, we will still fight. And this is because we believe that, the only way we can get better academic welfare on campus has always been through proper and adequate funding of education. And if you decide to draw the graph of, the education growth in Nigeria, you discover that it is reducing from the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, and now in the 21st century. It is decreasing by the year. So what does that tells you? If you look at the pre-1970s, you discover that education was much more better in those periods, which was clouded with proper funding of education. But as government begins to reduce the funding of education, and their respective agents, who are the monsters in our university, I call the vice chancellor, they implement those principles by increments in fees. So instead of that increment in fees to an average person, you think that you will get better education welfare, but things are getting much more worse by the day.
The school's management, speaking through the Defense Council, however, says the decision is justified an assertion countered by the counsel to the plaintiff.
I'm just going to look at the case file. The matter is for mention this morning. I'm still studying the case file. So you will discover that we have not filed anything in defense. So we are here just for mention. So we are still studying the file. That's all I can say.
Our prayers are for his studentship to be reinstated, for him to have all the rights accruable to a student on campus, writing exams, passing exams, graduating, and being attractive to the labor market. His rights under the Constitution are protected, and by being an activist, by asking for what is right, he should not be humiliated. You know, we all went to school. Even the oppressors of today used to be oppressed, but they were not oppressed as they are oppressing people today. We knew then how much we were paying as fees. Though economic realities of today might be asking for more, but it shouldn't be the one that will guillotine students, that will take away, deprive the students the right to education. Because if you are not have money to pay, so much as they are asking in schools, you will not be able to go to school. And an ignorant society is a dead society.
Ruling on the matter has been reserved till the 3rd of November 2014. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshogbo.
We'll take another break now, and when we return, we'll be returning with business, sports, and other stories outside Nigeria. Don't go away.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes, and bleeding from the eyes, ears, and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water, or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces, or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees, or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it. Don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
And now to business. Nigerian bond yields are expected to rise next week as concerns about falling global oil prices and a weakening currency persists. The naira has been under pressure and sending bond yields higher. It fell more than 3.65% year to date. At the primary auctions this week, the Debt Management Office sold about 83.94 billion naira in bonds of maturities between 3 and 20 years. Yield on the benchmark 2024 bond rose to 12.81% on Friday, compared with 12.59% last week, while 2022 paper was trading around 12.88% against 12.60% last Friday. The central bank will also sell treasury bills of all tenures worth 12 billion in 2 separate auctions next week. To enable small and medium entrepreneurs easily access micro, small and medium entrepreneur funds easily, the Central Bank of Nigeria wants to ensure a modern collateral registry is created. The members of the Bankers Committee made this decision at a meeting in Abuja, stating that some state government that applied for the fund had already started accessing it.
One of the ways that we considered and discussed was how to channel the fund meant for the micro and small and medium scale enterprises in Nigeria. You will recall, ladies and gentlemen, that the central bank has set up a fund of 220 billion naira, which is meant to be accessible to the classes of businesses that I mentioned earlier in Nigeria. The committee discussed ways to encourage bank customers to apply to benefit from the fund, and we charged ourselves to reach out to our customers to be sure that they send in applications and that those applications are favorably considered.
But the key thing is that it's very, very easy. It will make availment of loans much, much easier for retail customers, for consumer customers, and much, much faster. Because what you need is to just query the system. It's going to be electronic and it's going to be centralized. So we are going to have for the first time a central database of all security by customers of deposit money banks. So this is what we believe that by second quarter of next year, it should actually be in place, and it will enable the system to grant more small and medium scale loans.
And now to the sporting world. The Nigerian Football Federation has approved Sunday, November 23rd, as the date for the finals of the Men and Women Federation Cup competitions. The NFF Executive Committee endorsed the date and observes that holding the final on the date will leave enough time for Nigeria's flag bearer in the 2015 CAF Confederation Cup to be able to register for the competition. The finals of the 2014 Men and Women Federation Cup competitions suffered postponements due to the crisis that rocked the Nigeria Football Federation for 3 months. Defending champions Eyimba FC of Aba will confront Dolphins FC of Port Harcourt in the men's final, while Rivers Angels of Port Harcourt and Sunshine Coins of Akure slug it out for the honor to be crowned winners of the women's final, to be played same day at the Teslim Balogun Stadium. Already, the Lagos State government, through the Commissioner for Sports, Wahid Enito Oshodi, says the event will bring out the glamour of the competition, which has been hosted by Lagos State for a few years now. Kaduna State Governor Mukhtar Yero of Kaduna has assured polo enthusiasts of adequate security for the duration of the forthcoming annual tournament. Speaking during the check presentation at the Madu Yakubu Polo Ground, Murtala Square, Kaduna, Governor Yero, who was represented by the Commissioner for Sports and Youth Development, Bashir Zubeiru, said the state government would render all necessary assistance required to make the tournament a success. President Kaduna Polo Club Alhaji Shehu Muazu expressed appreciation to the Kaduna State government for approving a second polo ground for the club and for building a stable for the club. Tournament manager Ibrahim Abbas said the 2014 tournament will be used to commemorate Nigeria's centenary celebration, adding that polo players are expected from within and outside the country. Thousands of face mask wearing runners have taken part in the 31st Beijing International Marathon. The organizers had earlier warned runners to expect slight or moderate smog, but the U.S. Embassy in Beijing said air quality was hazardous, with one resident saying that the air smelt like burnt coal. Though the WHO says daily pollution levels should not exceed an average of 25 micrograms per cubic meter of fine particulate matter, estimates say the levels were higher. The U.S. Embassy, which was monitoring the levels at one point, reported peaks of up to 400 micrograms per cubic meter, which it said would be hazardous if a human was exposed to it over a 24-hour period. Some of the athletes say the race should have been cancelled because of the pollution, with British runner Charles Pope tweeting that he was only able to do 10 kilometers of the race in a mask before he had to pull out. He added that the race should not have gone ahead because the air quality was not suitable for outdoor activities. The race was, however, won in both the male and female categories by Ethiopians Game Behanu Gebru and Fatuma Sadu Dago. And now to other stories outside Nigeria. Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf says the whole world has a stake in the fight against Ebola. He said the disease respects no borders and that every country had to do all it could to help fight it. President Johnson Sirleaf added that a generation of Africans were at risk of being lost to economic catastrophe. The Ebola outbreak has killed more than 4,500 people across West Africa, including 2,200 in Liberia. International donations have so far fallen well short of the amounts requested by UN agencies and aid organizations. In the worst affected countries, Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone, about 9,000 people have been found to have the Ebola virus, which kills an estimate of 70% of those infected. She goes on to say that the fight against Ebola requires a commitment from every nation that has the capacity to help, whether that is with emergency funds, medical supplies, or clinical expertise. Hundreds of Taliban fighters have launched 2 deadly attacks in Afghanistan. In Logar province in the east, at least 4 soldiers were killed when militants attacked security posts. The Taliban have been launching attacks ahead of the planned withdrawal of most foreign forces at the end of 2014. Under new agreements that Afghanistan signed with the US and NATO, about 12,000 foreign troops will remain in the country beyond 2014 to train and assist Afghan forces. There will also be a separate US-led force dealing with the remnants of Al-Qaeda. And just before we close the show tonight, here is a wrap-up of the stories that made our headlines. We told you that Adama Group doubts Boko Haram's insincerity on ceasefire. We also brought you a report that Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola challenged the federal government on debt profile of the state. The Otulu community in Delta State has raised alarm over incessant attacks by Fulani headsmen. That's been the show tonight, and on behalf of the entire news crew, I am Ebulomo Adikule, wishing you a wonderful night rest.